Grange Month event. Tonight is our legislative roundtable. So if you have questions at any point during the night, please go ahead, drop them in the chat or feel free to shout out. I'm sure our guest presenters tonight won't mind being interrupted once in a while. Tonight we are joined by Burton Eller, our Legislative Director for the National Grange and Executive Director of Grange Advocacy, and Sean O'Neill, who is our National Grange Legislative Assistant, and I'm going to just toss the program straight over to them. So Burton, I'll let you take it away first.
Well, did you load up the Stabenow and
Sure
Thompson videos? And Sean's going to then give a little recap of yesterday, and then we'll just kind of go over some broad subject areas and turn it over to our guests and let them ask questions. The roundtable's a roundtable. So if it's okay with you, we'll just start with our two key speakers from yesterday.
Sure. So we're going to start. We were thankful to have videos submitted by Senator Debbie Stabenow and Congressman G.T. Thompson, who are the chair of the Senate Ag Committee and House Ag Committee, respectively. So we'll start with some comments from Senator Stabenow.
Hello, Grangers. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. You know, rural communities like my hometown of Clare in northern Michigan are part of the fabric of our wonderful nation. And we have to continue to invest in these communities so they can thrive now and well into the future. Last Congress, I was proud to champion investments in the bipartisan infrastructure law. We're building safer roads and bridges, investing in new rural water projects, and working to ensure that all Americans have access to broadband internet. High-speed internet is not a frill, and we need to make sure all of our small towns, rural communities have the access they need. Think of the difference this will make for small businesses, students doing their homework, seniors who need to see a doctor, and anyone who wants to connect with friends and family. It will bring all of our communities closer together. Our rural communities are also on the front lines of the climate crisis, which is something you see firsthand every day. We all see it now firsthand every day with the volatility in the weather. Last year, we secured a historic investment of nearly $40 billion to tackle this crisis, to lower costs, particularly in rural communities for energy use, and create good paying jobs in small towns across Michigan and America. This Congress, I'm focused on passing a bipartisan farm bill, as you know, that will help keep our rural communities resilient and thriving. My partner on the committee, Ranking Member John Bozeman, and I have held hearings on every title of the Farm Bill, and we're actively engaging with everyone impacted all across the country. I'm confident that by working together, we can pass another bipartisan Farm Bill that the president will sign into law. But challenges remain in the months ahead. We must hold together the broad coalition that led to historic bipartisan support for the 2018 Farm Bill. This will be essential in passing a bill that builds resilient small towns and rural communities, reflects the diversity of American agriculture, and supports the vital nutrition programs that millions of Americans rely on. We need your voices, Grangers, as usual, the voices of farm families and rural communities. We've accomplished so much together, and I'm proud to be your partner.
And we'll jump right over to Congressman Thompson.
For those who don't know me, I'm Congressman G.T. Thompson, proud representative of Pennsylvania's 15th District and chairman of the House Committee on Agriculture. As many of you know, we have a farm bill that expires in September. Every chairman wants a farm bill that is bipartisan and on time. And I've always prided myself on my willingness to reach across the aisle. In order to write a meaningful farm bill that meets the needs of the entire agriculture value chain, we must first conduct a thorough audit of what's working, what's not, and what needs fine-tuning. Rest assured, through a rigorous hearing schedule, Farm Bill listening sessions, and necessary oversight initiatives, we will continue working as efficiently as possible to provide producers and stakeholders with the certainty of a 5-year reauthorization. One question I'm asked almost daily is, what are my priorities? Well, quite frankly, it's simple. Ask a farmer, ask a rancher, ask a forester, ask a consumer, because their needs should be our priorities. We must also consider the needs of rural communities as a whole. Accessible to reliable, high-speed internet service is critical, as it provides individuals the opportunity to expand businesses, learn new skills, receive healthcare, and even participate in daily activities. Connectivity struggles in rural communities existed long before the pandemic, and Americans without high-speed internet access are being left behind. By supporting rural broadband programs, not only can we provide reliable connectivity for farm families, we can also bolster the use of technology in agriculture to help producers be even more efficient. Another way to support not just farm families, but folks nationwide who have fallen on hard times is through nutrition programs. Farm Bill nutrition programs embody the spirit of helping neighbors in need. We recognize the nutrition title both occupies a significant portion of the Farm Bill baseline and invokes a strong emotions on both sides of the aisle. However, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, can contribute to improving our nation's financial outlook by providing pathways to employment and promoting improved health and well-being. SNAP must be innovative and flexible, empower recipients through employment and education, emphasize health and nutrition education, and restore program integrity. Getting a farm bill across the finish line is a tall task, but as we've seen time and time again, each farm bill cycle brings its own unique challenges, but ultimately they get done. A successful reauthorization will require a lot of work from members and stakeholders, including all of you. I want to thank you all again for the work that you do and for giving me the opportunity to provide a few comments. God bless.
All right. I'll jump in here, I guess, for a little bit. I'm not sure if folks who are on, the 3 folks who are on, who are not Grange staff, got the chance to attend or see any of the fly-in yesterday, but I'll just give you a quick rundown of what we were able to hear beyond Chairman Thompson and Chairwoman Stabenow's comments. So along with both of them, they sent a member of their staff, the Chairwoman Stabenow staff in the Senate and Chairman Thompson staff in the House, who elaborated a little bit more on what's going on with the Farm Bill, where they are in the process, their timelines, looking towards September 1st, but maybe January 1st, and they feel confident that they can get it over the finish line. That was one thing I guess both staff members agreed on and moved forward. But after that, we were lucky enough to hear from Janet Mikulski of Mikulski Health Force, who gave us an overview of healthcare challenges going on today, talked about issues like pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, which is something our membership's interested in and is a growing interest on Capitol Hill, as well as challenges of access, telehealth, problems like that, and answer some questions from Grangers. We then also heard from Jenna Alsahi from U.S. Telecom, which is the sort of industry group for telecommunications companies here in Washington, who spoke about their members' work on getting broadband money moved out, the importance of working with your state broadband agency and authority to ensure that your community is represented in the process for spending that money on broadband that's being spent these days. And also a little bit about how they have an industry working group on stopping robocalls, which was interesting to hear about. We all hope they do well and are successful. And then we also, so our final speaker of the day was Laurel Leverrier from USDA Rural Utility Services, and where she works on their broadband programs. And she gave a little bit more, not industry's perspective, but the perspective from the government and USDA on broadband rollout, the importance of it, on the various USDA programs that exist through rural utility service for getting people broadband connectivity, and some issues that maybe people have with their providers and things like that. And again, all of them fielded some questions. And so that was sort of the gist of it. I guess now I'll pass it over to Burton if he has anything he wants to add.
Thanks, Appreciate it. Just so you know, folks, Sean's been doing a great job. He's allowing us to do a whole lot more than we've ever been able to do. You know, two arms are better than one, and we've really expanded the policy network of the Grange this year. As you know, Grange policy book's pretty thick. We address a whole lot of issues. Our time in Washington is basically spent on the two things: the issues that we try to drive forward, and the issues that come to us that have to be contended with. And so there may be something moving around town and on the Hill or in an agency that we have to contend with. And then every now and then there's an opportunity for us to run one of our policy issues into that mix. Just to give you some idea about some other things we're working on, in addition to what was covered in the fly-in yesterday, in agriculture and food, this is a big a year. You'll find the Farm Bill taking most of the food and ag attention this year, but down a layer or two below the surface, we'll be working on things and are working on things like country of origin labeling. There's a proposal now for volunteer labeling. It looks like it's got enough support from the producers that it will probably go at USDA. A lot of the processors aren't particularly happy with it, but we'll see where that goes. But it's a voluntary country of origin labeling for meat and poultry products that really it looks pretty good, and it's consumer based, and you know, I think we have a chance with that one. We're making a lot of progress on local food processing and local marketing. There was money in the infrastructure bill to expand local processing plants, get the inspection up to USDA level, and some of those awards and grants have already gone out to several plants around the country, and that's continuing. Our members are concerned with foreign land ownership, and USDA just doubled its staff to monitor that. Unfortunately, USDA for about 3 years did not do much monitoring. They didn't level any fines for not reporting, et cetera, et cetera. It's not against the law to buy land in this country, but there's a requirement that you must report those sales and to whom. And that had not been done, and the secretary stepped up and said, we're going to not only do that now, we're going to look and see what we missed over those last few years. Grange is deeply involved in the appropriations process to get the money for the priorities that we're looking for. Research is a big area that we're having to fight for. That's called discretionary funds when we run the appropriations. Things like food stamps and a lot of those programs are not discretionary funds, they're required funds. And so there's not much room to cut if you're going to cut a budget or transfer money into a different account. Research is always a little pocket of money that seems that Congress loves to rob once in a while. And Betsy's on several advisory committees and boards, and we're standing up for research, as well as a lot of our other programs in the appropriations bill behind food and agriculture. Conservation and the environment is a big issue. We're working with a rather large coalition that are entailed in USDA's climate smart agriculture funding and grants. And what this is voluntary programs that folks can participate in to authenticate conservation and environmental programs and climate smart agriculture. There's like 30 projects now out, I believe. And the design of these programs is that it's probably going to go to maybe like a state land grant institution, but they must partner with producers, on the ground producers, to carry out that program. So that really gets down to the agriculture level and not just the research level to determine what is best for climate smart agriculture. In healthcare, that's taking a much bigger piece of our time this year. The biggest elephant in the room is the pay for. As healthcare becomes more expensive, as new drugs come on market that are not cheap, as we are denying access because of distance in rural America, paying for some of these drugs and procedures and preventive medicine and treatments is getting harder. Medicare is much slower to approve payment for new programs than ever. And if we get a new cutting edge drug or a treatment on the market, it may take years for that to be approved for Medicare. In other words, FDA on one side can approve it, and on the other side, the agency CMS that approves it for Medicare, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, may take years to approve it. And the pay for it is a tremendously big issue. Broadband, we had a really good update yesterday on broadband. USDA is a different agency in broadband arena now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. They were standing up slow broadband with not much money, trying to do the best they could to get down the country road. We were not making a lot of progress, and jump ahead to the money that they got in several different communications is awarding some money, USDA is awarding some money, and the Treasury Department is there's $100 billion plus in expanding broadband into rural America right now, and we're making tons of progress. USDA, with the various infusions of not just millions but billions of dollars that they've had in targeting rural broadband, is a much better agency today than it was just 4 or 5 years ago. And we're hearing some success stories out of that last mile of country road where these are standing up programs. In my home county, there's 3 valleys. The main valley with the interstate has internet. The valley to the south has spotty internet. They just got cell phone in parts of that county. In the northern valley, they are so excited right now because they have Wi-Fi in each of the churches in the valley for the kids to come and do homework, or for business people to come and have a conference. The churches will be open, and it's almost like community centers, and they're excited. Now that's 2023. It's going to take a while for this broadband initiative from the Federal Communications Commission, the National Telephone Communications Agency, the USDA, and they're coordinating these projects between them, and it's still going to take a while to get into rural America in many parts of the country. Just quickly over in transportation, that's not necessarily our bailiwick, but this year it has been. We've worked really hard. A year or two ago, we were working on the railroads to just deliver and run and be efficient and be on time. To do that, they were late with their trunk line trains, so we had grain backing up at the elevator. The transportation board stepped in, and the Grange, along with several other groups in agriculture and food, pushed the board, and there's some new targets to be met, and rail transportation has improved. I'm not saying that it is perfect right now. Every trunk line is not getting service necessarily back at once, but the improvement is phenomenal from where it was just 18 months ago. And the Grange just signed on a letter of support. There's a bill being negotiated in the Senate and the House, a bipartisan bill to improve rail safety, to prevent accidents like happened in Ohio. And it's a very comprehensive bill, and the Grange is very happy to support that bill. We do think that probably has a chance of going. The last thing I'll say is that there's not a lot of legislation moving. You've got a bipartisan Congress. That's both the good and bad. The bad is that not much moves. The good is not much moves. So it's got to be pretty good to go through Congress this year. The president still has the opportunity to veto if it's not something he likes. But like I say, most of the attention in food and agriculture this year will be on the various provisions of the Farm Bill. And you'll hear a lot about that. And I think we'll open it up now for discussion and taking some of your questions, or if you have none, why, you can go have a cup of coffee.
Well, I'm going to start and kick off a question to ask if there was anything that either of you heard yesterday during the fly-in that was surprising news, or that is a new field that you think that the Grange can really latch on to, and something that we can really either kick down the line and help it get moving, or that our members can research and talk to their own representatives about?
Well, one of the things that surprised me the most, but it's not something that we can kick to the Grangers because we've been working on it for a while, but the Jenna from U.S. Telecom basically says that they're way up to the 90th percentile of preventing illegal robocalls compared to just a year or two ago. That was amazing to me. And I really give that industry a blue chip. And that was a project that association, their umbrella association, took on 4 or 5 years ago. It has not been easy, but we're still getting robocalls. I'm still getting robocalls at home, but the frequency is way, way down. And that surprised me in a good way. I'll let Sean jump in. I'm not sure that I heard anything that we're not aware of and already have.
I mean, certainly things that Grangers can become more aware of. I know it's come from our Grangers, talked about pharmacy benefit managers, but I think that was a good bit of education that Janet Mikulski led about what exactly they are and why maybe they should see some legislation and things like that to control what they do. I guess I'll sort of drop that in here for you. It's sort of pharmacy benefit managers have emerged as this sort of group of companies. There's only a couple of them. It's pretty monopolistic, concentrated industry, which negotiate with insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies to get discounted purchasing for pharmaceuticals. But the PBM, the pharmacy benefit manager company, sort of takes all of that discount as profit for itself, and it isn't passed along to the patients. It isn't, I mean, certainly it's increased costs, or I mean, some of the price goes on to the pharmaceutical company, some goes to the insurance, but at the end of the day, it's really just extractive price taking in the middle. And that's something that's gotten bipartisan attention in Congress in the past few weeks, the past year, really. It's something we know Grangers. I know our North Carolina State Grange was interested in this issue. I know at National Convention last year, a lot of our delegates were interested and ended up passing a resolution to work on. But that's maybe an issue that's more in the weeds that folks learned about from listening to Janet yesterday. So that's maybe one example of something that would be new for Grangers.
Great. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, this is going to be a really short Zoom. I don't know what to tell y'all.
This is Dave Roberts from Connecticut.
Yeah, go ahead,
Hi,
Dave.
Dave.
Hi there. I just wanted to give one positive thing just to make sure you all know. The America Rescue Plan Act funding has been a lifesaver for at least 3 Granges in Connecticut. And this is the COVID money. And in Connecticut, they have in some towns allowed us to apply to get grants to do repairs to our Grange halls. And I know some of the new reinvigorating Granges have really taken advantage. Wallingford got 185,000, Riverton got 15,000, and another Grange got some funding. So I just wanted you all to know from the DC perspective what an impact that has had on some of the Granges where the towns have recognized that nonprofits ought to get some of that funding when they could tie it back to the pandemic.
It's good to hear.
That's great. We also had a little snippet yesterday about a program that the Grange has taken on, a little grant from the Federal Communications Commission to get the word out into local communities that there's some help down at the grassroots if for access, for education, for connectivity. There's a program that can bring in folks low income and folks that can't basically aren't used to operating this equipment. There's help that can be had, and to get that word down to the Granges, the National Grange has taken on a project that it's I believe Betsy is at 2 years to help get the word down to the grassroots that there's access help, there's connectivity help, there's learning help, there's proficiency help, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that'll be a really cool project, I think, to watch and see how our Granges kind of step up to help lead that charge, in getting people, that last mile that we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, we'll be reaching out to local Granges to host programs or host events where low-income people can sign up. We just thought that we've been advocating for so long for access to broadband. Now is our chance to lobby for affordability too, the other side of the equation, to get it out there to everybody. So we're excited about that. So you'll be hearing more.
Stay
Hi.
tuned.
Hi, this is Ann. Was that ACP grant that they were talking about at the
Yeah.
end?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, great. That's excellent. Thank you.
Hey, anybody else with questions or comments?
I learned
Yep.
something today, Burton and Sean. We lobbied for the No Surprises Act. There's a surprise in there that I wish we had not gotten past.
Uh-oh.
There's a new whole reporting program that employers now have to do to tell the government of how many people we have employed that are on our health insurance plans, our group plans, and how much we spend, and just a nightmare of reporting. I was on a webinar today to learn how to file the report. And basically they said, yeah, don't even try to do it yourself, hire somebody to do it for you. So I hate to do that, but I signed up to have somebody do it for us for $800 because it's just way too complicated and detailed. Even to sign up for the portal to enter your information is way too complicated, they said, to even try to do it. So I
That sounds like
wish
that's a
that,
federal government at work, huh?
yeah.
Implementation there, I guess, sort of fell apart. Well, maybe on a happier note, I guess, while people think of questions if they have them, I guess one thing I'll plug here is our Grange Grassroots Advocacy Award, which we announced at last convention and have yet to receive any submissions for, is my understanding. So if you submit, you could be the only one. Although I know there's some, Phil, people who are going to be applying, but
Yeah,
you won't be
I know
the
Marty's
only one.
on, and
But
our Grange is doing a program that will certainly qualify for it.
But if you or a Grange in your state you know about is doing some sort of legislative event, could be anything, could be as simple as having a state representative or a town or county representative or whatever coming by to talk about what they do or hear from you all. Submit. You can look on the website for what the terms are and stuff and how to submit. But please do, since we know Grangers are doing things every year, and they always are. We just want to recognize some folks at convention for it. So I'll put a little plug in for that.
We're having to meet the candidates night next week.
Well,
Where
please.
all the candidates for county office and local office are invited to come and speak and take questions and put out their literature or whatever. But I mean, we tell them that we're nonpartisan. We do not endorse, but we do encourage people to vote.
Well, please take some pictures. I'm sure you are planning to anyway, and Phil can probably send you the stuff, or I don't know if this is the same event you're talking about, Phil,
the info in the link.
but can send you some of the details about how to submit. It's very easy. It's just, I think, a picture and maybe a short paragraph about what you did, and send it to Loretta Washington here, and then We're going to take a look at them and hopefully give out an award at this year's convention to the Grange Advocacy in Action. So for what folks are doing on the ground, we want to recognize local Granges for getting involved in legislative advocacy and stuff. So if you're already doing it, please submit. And we might be able to recognize you.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this qualified for anything special. We just do it as a routine thing.
That's
well,
good.
that's why we want to recognize it, since you've been doing it unrecognized for so long. We want to, thank people for being involved in it and give out a little award every year.
The
Okay,
other
we'll
thing-
try
the other thing I want to pitch is that one thing that our legislative department does very well on is working with Betsy on getting information out through editorials, through various means. And a couple months ago, Betsy published an editorial in the Kansas City Star about access to Alzheimer's treatment for rural America. So Betsy, because of the popularity of that piece, has been invited to participate in a panel for The Hill called Expanding Access to Alzheimer's Care and Treatment, which will be on May 11th at 2:00 p.m. I just dropped the link for that in the chat for you to be able to register. Watch Betsy. This is sponsored by Eli Lilly and will feature some other representatives, doctors, caregivers, patients, and Betsy on this panel, which is a great honor for the Grange to be invited to be a part of this. So she's up there with the CEO of the Alzheimer's Association, the executive director of Leaders Engaged in Alzheimer's Disease. So this is another field, part of our ongoing work in medical research and healthcare to ensure that rural America is included in these conversations, because so often medical research is held in the major metro centers and it takes forever for it to get out to people in rural America, and for us to get the same access that our partners in New York and Los Angeles and DC and Chicago have. So tune in for that. It'll be a great event, I'm sure. And I can't believe you guys have no questions tonight. It's
when I worked on the Hill, we would get people who would call, and it wasn't about a specific piece of advocacy, but they just wanted to be heard. And they could talk all day about their political views. And I guess this is your chance to do that, to be heard by a couple of folks whose full-time 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job is to advocate for you here in Washington. So if you have any questions or concerns or hang-ups or I don't know, whatever that you want to make heard here in Washington, we can help you do that.
Well, I'll ask a question, another one. So I read an article today from census.gov about SNAP, the extra SNAP benefits that were part of COVID relief. They're ended, or have ended now. And food insecurity is now back on the rise. So is there anything, because they dropped from, as of last October, with the extra benefits, we're at $939. And now that the extra benefits have ended, the SNAP benefits are down to $339. So that's a $600 decrease in households' access to food, healthy food especially. So is there anything that Grange members could do to lobby for additional SNAP funding? I realized that yesterday we learned that it's 80% of the farm bill. But
well, I'll say, I guess, unfortunately, for those who want to see increased access to SNAP benefit, if that's your position, the wind is not blowing that direction in this Congress as part of the discussion around raising the debt ceiling, which has to be done sometime this summer. House Republicans have put forward a package which would increase work requirements and age requirements and stuff for access to SNAP. So it will be more difficult to access SNAP if that were to go through. Now, to be clear, those issues are non-starters with Democrats in the House, Senate, and White House. So they likely won't come through as part of a debt ceiling package, which has to be bipartisan, but will certainly be part of the discussion in the Farm Bill later this year. We'll see how that ends up. But I think it's unlikely that you see an increase in SNAP benefits in this farm bill at least, because there's already going to be a lot of competition for dollars for every program. And I know with they did the recalculation or whatever it was a few years ago recently with inflation and stuff. So they've gone up a little bit recently, the base level that is. So I think it'll be hard pressed to get them to go up more with that in mind, and with everybody scrapping for every last dollar in this specific Congress. So maybe not a rosy perspective on that.
Fill that
But
gap.
Grangers can get involved if you're a Granger who's interested in keeping
There's
it,
probably
open.
an opportunity in the private sector.
Yeah. Food bank programs and stuff. I know the Farmers to Family Food Box program, which came about in the pandemic, has been expanded and supported, continued, I guess. And well, maybe that sort of program will probably, or maybe not probably, but maybe get more support and expansion under a farm bill, sort of to connect local farmers with folks in need. In cases like that, more of a, as Burton mentioned, sort of a more private facilitation, but we'll see.
Food banks are reporting a big increase now in demand, and they need food. I think probably the private sector may be the answer in the short run. I don't know where it's going to go in the farm bill. You've got the House that wants to increase work requirements and wants to cut the budget. The Senate says it's not time to cut the budget. So we'll see. I think John has it corrected. It's going to be hard to put new money behind anything in the farm bill. But I think the private sector and the programs, the food programs, the food banks, anything we can do to have direct farmer to food bank or farmer to customer may be the way to fill that void. It's right now, at least for the short run, it looks like the private sector and big hearts might have a lot more effect than trying to get an increase in SNAP right now.
Yeah, sometimes I think we do get focused on what can our government do for us and not what can these other private big businesses do for us, how can we get the private sector involved more? So that's another great spot for Grange to be working.
Local Granges, community Granges already do a lot of work with food banks and food drives and things like that. So keep on working.
There's a couple that I know that actually have teamed up with the USDA or YMCA or whoever's getting the food boxes and becoming a distribution site, which is a great way. There's one in my home county that for sure has become very popular. Well, if there's nothing else, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll end early, and that's not a problem either. So, great. Well, thank you, Sean and Burton, for being on tonight. Any closing thoughts?
I've got one. If you will give the message back to the local Grange, maybe at the state session this year. We pass a lot of resolutions. We have a lot of policy at the Grange. But when you pass that policy resolution at the local Grange, all that is a vehicle. It really doesn't mean anything. It gets to the state, maybe it gets passed there. And again, it only means whatever it's worth on the paper. When it gets to the national and is passed, it becomes a marching order for the National Grange. But the problem we have sometimes is we get the resolutions, we get the policy, and it's something the local folks really want. But then we turn it back around and say, okay, local folks, can you help us out? Can you contact the Senate? Can you contact the House? Remember, can you go by the district office of your representative? It's a two-way street, not a one-way street. And sometimes we get hobbled by a one-way street. We get the policy up from your local Grange, but when it's time to help deliver that policy, Sean and I, we're a mouthpiece. That's all. We can't secure that vote because all politics is local. Tip O'Neill always used to say, and all politics are local, because if they don't hear from the folks at home, about what we're talking about is not near as effective. So I would encourage, I wish we could get the message back to the local Granges that this is a two-way street, not a one-way street. We appreciate your resolutions. We appreciate what you're fired up about, but when it comes time to deliver on that, we'd appreciate you being fired up too.
We need to know what you are working on the national level so that we can contact our senators and congressmen, because I have taken things from your emails, and when you say contact your senator and congressman, I do, but I'm not always aware of what you're working on to nudge them.
We try to keep the most important things like that. In other words, we don't just ask you to go to Congress every day or every week or every issue that comes up. Because some of the issues are, it's kind of like bread, it's baking, and until it's finished, it's not time to weigh in. And so what we try to do is limit what we put in the view from the Hill to those things that action can be taken with Congress right away. The others are things we're working with and bring groups together, coalitions together, and contacting Congress to build the support behind it politically in Washington. And then we say, okay, can you contact, and we can do more of that. I mean, I think if we, maybe that's a good idea. In other words, as we have a committee vote coming up on something that's really, really important, maybe that's a place where we need to add a contact.
Yeah, we'll do better to keep in contact, but I'll add, if you or members of your Grange or you're at a Grange meeting and you ever think, man, we really are hungry to do more advocacy and help the Grange out, please just give me a call or Burton a call or give the main office a call or shoot us an email, say, you know, we want to do our next meeting where we spend some time maybe writing letters or emails or something like that. And I can give you 10, 20 issues that the Grange is involved in here in Washington for you all to I guess get working on. So please just let me give us a call or anything, anytime.
Well, that's good. If we don't go to national session, we're not always aware of what is active on the national level.
Mm-hmm.
So our whole policy book is available in the National Grange Journal of Proceedings, which is free to access on our website at any point. Marty, I'm also happy to email it to you if you'd like me to.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'll gladly do that tomorrow when I'm in the office. And then the best way to really stay up to date on what we're working on is that reading that monthly View from the Hill and the bi-weekly legislative advocacy playbook that's in the patrons chain emails. Having 51,000 members across the country is hard to keep track and keep everybody up to date. And there are certain things that are moving and certain congressmen that are better to target than others. So sometimes I think we do reach out to certain states to say, hey, can you reach your congressperson because they seem to be key on this issue. And since Marty, I know you're in Pennsylvania, hitting GT might be a great way to go sometimes and keep him up to date. With
I don't know him. I don't know him.
Oh, he's a good guy.
But I maybe to you, I do pass on that View from the Hill and the patrons chain. I always email or forward it to all the Grangers that I have emails for in our county. So I don't know whether they read it or not, but I do try to pass all the information on.
Perfect.
Well, that's good to hear. And GT, whether or not you think he's a good guy, he's an important guy.
I don't know.
That's one thing for sure. GT Thompson, Pennsylvania's 15th district, is the chairman of the House Agriculture Committee for this Congress. So he's got a big hand to play in writing the Farm Bill. So all things agriculture for the next 5 years, which come from the Farm Bill, will run through Chairman Thompson's office. We're lucky that we've got a strong Grange in Pennsylvania that you yourself are a part of, and Phil and Betsy are a part of, and they've got a strong, good relationship with Chairman Thompson, but always good to keep him aware of what Grangers are up to, and he knows the Grange, so he'll listen.
I did see him on there on the fly-in, but he's
we played his video earlier.
from another area and he's from another area of the state, so I'm just not aware of him.
He's my part of the state. Oh, Sean, thank you for dropping the Journal of Proceedings in there in the chat. Okay, well, any other questions or comments tonight?
I'll add one thing. Thank you to Dave Roberts for sending in a Grange Advocacy Award Submission,
Already?
I just received it, 9:18 PM, the first submission for the award and it's hopefully long history. We'll go for Riverton Grange number 169. You're the leading candidate to win right now, so no guarantees that others won't hop in, but you're the leading candidate.
But and speaking of Dave Roberts, he is also hosting on Sunday evening a resolution workshop on with assistance from Terry Facio and Vince Scholten, the vice president of California State Grange. They are leading this resolution workshop. There will be information on that tomorrow in the bottom of your view from the hill. It'll be the last little blurb in there. So that's Connecticut State Grange and is open to members from across the country. So if you're looking to write stronger resolutions and get involved in that process, I think that's a great place to start. So on that note, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Burton. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for spending another evening with us. And this is the end of our evening Grange Month Zoom. So thank you for everyone who has tuned in religiously across the month. I appreciate your connection, your time, and your devotion to the Grange. And so our final Zoom presentation will be this Saturday at 3:00 p.m. Eastern with me. And it's kind of just a chill forum about what's next and how to take our Grange Month energy into the coming months and the coming year. And I do want to alert you all now that on May 8th, I just added it to our calendar today at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing a Zoom with the Northeast Region Host Committee as an invitation to this year's National Convention in Niagara Falls. So that'll be a cool little Zoom group led by Walter Hartley and Jody Cameron, and you never know what the two of them are going to do. So they will keep me on my toes that night for sure in the moderation department. So again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time. And let's keep the energy going. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good one.